There are many remarkable ancient artifacts made by our ancestors that could rewrite history as we know it. Take, for instance, Prince Sabu's disc. This thing may look modern, but it's actually 5,000 years old. How ancient people created, why, and for what is a total mystery. According to science, such objects shouldn't exist, but they do, and that is a fact that cannot be denied. And in this video, you're going to see some of the strangest, most logic-defying objects ever found. Number 15. A triple-bodied warrior. London isn't just famous for royal scandals. It's also got a name for its weird and wonderful past. In the British Museum, there are many things like this, super horrific and unearthly. I don't know much about it, but it's scary. What do you think about it? Now, another most interesting object that you see here is this terracotta statuette. This triple-bodied warrior dates back to somewhere between 650 and 550 BC and was found near Pirga in Cyprus. The warrior isn't just one figure. It's three fused together, armored and armed. According to the museum, it was placed in a sanctuary by a warrior aristocrat to reflect his military power, his devotion to the gods, and his social status. They call it a supernatural being, but don't go further. Some say it could be Geryon, the three-bodied giant from the myth of Heracles, but nothing confirms that. Cyprus may have had its own lost legends, and since the statue is damaged because it's missing shields and lower limbs, it might not even be one being. The truth? Who knows, except God. Number 14. The Gate of the Sun. The Gate of the Sun in Tiwanaku remains a 10-ton riddle. Locally known as Puerta del Sol, this entire monument was carved out of a single block of andesite. While some say it was made by the Tiwanaku culture nearly 3,000 years ago, researchers argue it could be over 17,000 years old. The structure stands 10 feet high and 13 feet across, and once belonged to a much larger complex that stood atop the Akapana Pyramid. The signs on its surface are still undeciphered. One figure believed to be Viracocha, the creator god of Inca mythology, is surrounded by weird winged entities resembling those seen in ancient Mesopotamian art. It looks as though the gate was abandoned before completion, and the entire structure is split down the middle, possibly from a lightning strike. The advanced carving techniques needed to build it shouldn't have existed 3,000 years ago, let alone 17,000. That's why no one can say who built it, or when. Number 13. Huacha. When you picture a 16th century battlefield, the last thing you'd expect is a rocket launcher. But Korea had one. The Huacha, which means fire chariot, was a mobile, two-wheeled platform that carried a flat board drilled with dozens of holes. Each hole held an arrow fitted with a gunpowder-propelled shaft. Once ignited, this thing could release up to 100 explosive arrows at once, raining down destruction across a wide area. During the Imjin War against Japan, it played a huge role in Korea's defense. Some sources suggest early versions may have existed as far back as the 14th century. Later models doubled the launch capacity. Despite lacking fancy rocketry, the Huacha had the same impact: shock, confusion, and mass damage. Western powers hadn't even dreamed of rocket barrages at the time, but Korea was already building battlefield machines that could shred enemy lines in seconds. It was decades ahead of anything else in its era. Number 12. Nampa figurine. After its discovery, this object was analyzed and described. It's a tiny humanoid figure depicting a lady, and it's just 1.5 inches. Now that's around half the size of your pinky finger. This object isn't just made of one substance. It's made from clay, quartz, and has a reddish hue due to iron oxide. And you won't believe it, it is said to be 2 million years old. Now, it's not as old as stone tools found in Tanzania. The Oldowan tools were likely made by Homo habilis around 2.6 million years ago, but still, this is a sculpted figure, and that's a big deal. The claim came from Charles Francis Adams, Jr., a 19th century railroad commissioner and amateur historian. He dated it based on the layer it was pulled from, about 261 to 301 feet deep, not through radiocarbon dating. His estimate sparked huge controversy, and honestly, it still does. Because if he's right, this figurine shouldn't exist. But it does. And it proves that nothing is impossible, even finding a treasure box. Number 11. Gornaya Shoria megaliths. The scientific explanation for Siberia's Gornaya Shoria megaliths seems almost impossible to accept. Researchers insist the massive stone formations are completely natural, shaped by erosion over millions of years. But the megaliths are rectangular, with flat faces and right-angled joints, features rarely seen in naturally weathered stone. Some even show deep boreholes, as if drilled. Natural processes can smooth rock, but rarely cut it cleanly at 90 degrees or carve precise geometric shapes. If this were all nature's work, then it's unlike anything seen before. And if it wasn't, the question becomes, who shaped them? Could these stones be the work of a highly organized prehistoric society? Some believe the answer might involve ancient giants or lost civilizations capable of manipulating stone on a massive scale. Whatever the case, the megaliths challenge conventional geology. Without a clear alternative, the debate remains open. Number 10. St. Belek Slab. Where exactly did the art of cartography begin? Well, based on the St. Belek slab, the answer might be ancient France. Estimated to be over 4,000 years old, the slab was initially unearthed in 1900, but ended up shelved and misfiled for over a century. It wasn't until modern analysis that researchers realized the engravings matched the geography surrounding the River Odette almost exactly. The similarity between the markings and real terrain is far too specific to be dismissed as random. Many researchers now believe this could be the oldest map in human history. If it truly is a map, it likely represents land controlled by a Bronze Age ruler or local war chief. What makes it even more mysterious is that the slab seems to have been intentionally burned and buried, possibly to mark the end of that rule. That act of destruction might symbolize conquest, rebellion, or simply the deliberate erasing of one leader's power. What do you think about it? Number 9. Sun Temple Geometry. In late 2016, Dr. Sherry Towers of Arizona State University studied the layout of the Sun Temple in Mesa Verde National Park, Colorado. What she found surprised even seasoned researchers. The structure contains precise mathematical shapes, equilateral triangles, golden rectangles, and the classic Pythagorean 3-4-5 triangle. The odds of all three showing up by accident are very unlikely. The temple was built around 800 years ago by people without written language or formal math systems. And yet, the geometry is deliberate. What makes this even stranger is that we still don't know what the temple was for. It's agreed that the site held ceremonial importance, but its exact purpose is unknown. Interestingly, Pueblo Bonito, which is another ancestral Puebloan structure, shows similar layout patterns. This suggests it wasn't a one-time fluke, but a shared knowledge of geometry across locations. These builders clearly understood spatial balance and proportion in ways modern archaeologists are still trying to understand today. Number 8. Mysterious Blue Stone of Sierra Leone. In 1990, geologist and archaeologist Angelo Pittoni unearthed a strange deep blue stone during a dig in Sierra Leone. At first glance, it looked unnatural. He sent samples to laboratories across the globe, including institutions in Geneva, Rome, Utrecht, Tokyo, and Freiburg. The conclusion was unanimous. This material doesn't match any known mineral on Earth. It wasn't similar to any stone classified in geological databases. Some tried calling it sky stone because of its color, but that label doesn't explain its composition. It's not entirely crystalline, nor metallic, nor even organic. Its precise structure remains unidentified. Theories suggest it could be a manufactured material, possibly synthetic, yet no known culture, ancient or modern, could have produced something with these qualities, especially not in prehistoric West Africa. To this day, the blue stone remains one of the most puzzling examples of an out-of-place artifact in human history. Number 7. Kasta tomb. It took decades for archaeologists to fully investigate the Kasta tomb in Amphipolis, northern Greece. Though the Kasta mound was first documented in 1964, the tomb itself wasn't examined until 2012. Even then, it took another 2 years before excavation teams finally entered the structure. What they uncovered was super staggering: a massive tomb, one of the largest ever found in Greece, dating back around 2,400 years. Due to its size and grandeur, some initially hoped it might be the resting place of Alexander the Great himself. That theory didn't hold, but it wasn't far off. Inscriptions and artifacts found at the site point to Hephaestion, Alexander's lifelong companion. Of the 5 sets of remains discovered inside, 1 is suspected to be his, but the identities of the other 4 individuals remain uncertain. While the connection to Hephaestion seems likely, confirmation is still pending, and with it, who else was buried within those monumental walls? Number 6. The Lady of Atlantis. This limestone bust was found in 1897 near Alicante and has sparked over a century of debate. Standing 21 inches tall, it portrays a woman, possibly a priestess, noble, or an unknown queen. While some archaeologists place it within the Roman or Hellenistic periods, others trace it back to the 4th century BCE. More recent claims have accused it of being a 19th century forgery, but those accusations were quickly dismissed by others in the field. The bust's intricate design, elaborate headdress, and unusual features suggest it may not fit neatly into any known tradition. A few researchers have even speculated that it could represent a figure tied to Atlantis, perhaps a symbol of a forgotten maritime elite. The artifact's origin remains unconfirmed, but its craftsmanship and distinctiveness are undeniable. Whether it's a relic from a lost civilization or an overlooked piece of Mediterranean history, the Lady of Atlantis refuses to explain herself. Number 5. Bronze Age thread splicing. For years, it was assumed Bronze Age people in Britain created thread through spinning. That belief changed in 2018. Researchers discovered that instead of spinning fibers, they used a method called splicing, an unexpectedly complex technique. The process involved stripping long pieces of nettle, flax, lime bark, and similar plants, then joining them directly without softening the material first. It's far more labor-intensive than spinning. Joining each piece by hand likely took weeks to make just a small amount of thread. While this technique was previously thought to be isolated to early Egyptian textile work, recent discoveries across Europe, like one in Neolithic-era Switzerland, suggest it may have been far more widespread. Spinning is easier and faster, but splicing comes first. And it wasn't just a crude trial, it was a method requiring serious knowledge of plant behavior. The fact that people over 3,800 years ago developed such a precise technique shows a level of textile craftsmanship that few expected. It's amazing. Number 4. Star Car. Star Car is one of Europe's most critical Mesolithic-era sites, dating back over 10,000 years. It marks a period shortly after the Ice Age, when Britain was still linked to mainland Europe by land. Excavations began in 1948 and continue to this day, with new discoveries still emerging. Among the most striking finds are deer headdresses made from red deer skull caps, likely used in rituals or hunting disguises. Over 200 barbed harpoons crafted from antlers have also been found. Life here wasn't easy if you were a red deer. These artifacts were preserved in remarkable condition due to their burial in waterlogged peat. Starcar has revealed more about early British life than nearly any other site from the same period. The environmental conditions helped preserve organic materials rarely seen in other digs. With excavations still underway, Starcar remains one of the most important open books on prehistoric human life in the region. Number 3. Codex Borgia. Most of what we know about ancient Mesoamerican spirituality, gods, and ceremonies comes from rare documents like the Codex Borgia. It's considered one of the most important illustrated manuscripts ever found in the Americas. But unlike other famous artifacts, you won't find it in a museum. It's preserved inside the Vatican Library. The Codex is pre-Columbian and dates back to the 16th century. It's named after Cardinal Stefano Borgia, who owned the manuscript in the 1700s before it was acquired by the Vatican after he died in 1804. Rather than one narrative, the Codex is a collection of writings on divination, religious symbols, ceremonial rites, and calendar systems. It's one of the few indigenous documents that escaped destruction during the Spanish conquest. The exact authors remain unknown. It might have been the work of the Tlaxcalans, but could also be Mixtec or Chololteca. We'll probably never know for certain who created it or how it survived. Number 2. The Williams Enigmalith. This bizarre artifact was accidentally uncovered in 1998 by electrical engineer John J. Williams while hiking. What he found buried in the dirt wasn't just another rock, it had something embedded in it. A small, three-pronged electrical component that clearly didn't belong. Measuring about 0.3 inches in diameter, the piece is encased in a stone matrix of unknown origin. The material isn't wood, plastic, metal, rubber, or anything that could be identified by standard testing. It simply doesn't match any substance on record. This object challenges everything we assume about early human history. If authentic, it could be proof that an advanced civilization once existed long before recorded history began. Some believe it's a modern piece accidentally fused with stone, but multiple examinations argue otherwise. The component appears firmly sealed into the rock itself, not artificially inserted. As far as anyone can tell, the plug and the stone are one, and that leaves far more questions than answers. Number 1. Ollantaytambo. Historians date Ollantaytambo to the 15th century, built during the reign of Emperor Pachacuti. That fits until you look closer. Big stonework at the site appears far older. Some archaeologists argue the foundations could predate Incan civilization by 10,000 years or more. The site feels very confusing. Giant andesite blocks, weighing up to 50 tons, were somehow transported up steep mountain slopes without any known machinery. Many stones are polished so precisely they reflect light, and they're fitted so tightly that not even a sheet of paper can slide between them. The most overlooked features are the strange etched patterns, like the crisscross marks on the Temple of the Condor, which look like they were carved by circular saws. Yet the Inca didn't have saws. There are no firm answers. No consistent theory explains how this place was built or why it shows such advanced workmanship in a time that shouldn't have had the tools for it. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.